Yo, what's up, guys? I want to take a moment and thank you for clicking on my very obvious clickbait. Well, it's about 50-50 clickbait. In my last video, I said specifically that there were no winners. No one really comes out on top. And what I mean by that is no one really comes out on top in the way that what people really want out of it. People want everyone to agree with them, like, oh yeah, Stellar Blade is clearly better, God of War is clearly better, or oh, because you don't like God of War, then you are clearly sexist. Oh, because I like Stellar Blade, I'm clearly not sexist. Everyone wants their argument to be seen and heard and whatnot. And these sorts of debates and arguments, no one ever really changes their mind. Let's be honest. No one ever really comes over to the other side. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's what I mean when I say nobody really wins. Because at the end of the day, they're both their own separate game. Ultimately, it's just going to be how it is. They're going to perform how they're going to perform. But we'll get into the details later of why I believe Stellar Blade wins. And it's not what you probably think. I do have a few things I want to talk about before we actually get too far into it. You know that I would probably rather play Stellar Blade than God of War. But because I try and approach these things in a vision of non-bias, I do want to go over something that has been in the Stellar Blade community that is a little bit disappointing and a little bit stupid to me, and that is this right here. So this is a creator called Vara Dark, right? And I'm new to Vara Dark. I've only seen a couple of her videos recently, and I followed her because I was like, oh, some of these things are interesting. But now that I'm following her, this post came up, and when this post came up at first, I was kind of like, something ain't right here. Then after this post came out, I've noticed a lot of other content creators that I see or follow, or who are on the maybe the Stellar Blade side of the controversy, has been using this post as sort of like their ace in this argument, saying that like, aha, yeah, see, we told you, we got you. And I'm a little bit disappointed in some of the Stellar Blade community because of it, because like I'm trying to approach this at a non-biased perspective, like I said, and to do that you kind of have to fight with facts. You got to fight with facts and understanding, right? And one of the biggest things towards Stellar Blade has obviously been Eve and her perceived age. Is she too young? Is she, PDF file baiting? You got one side where everybody's trying to push where obviously she's not a child and she looks like an adult, while the other one is trying to claim that she obviously does look like a child. Pretty much everybody's already fallen into whatever camp they're going to fall into, as is pretty normal with most debates and most arguments. It really never goes anywhere because people decide, and once they've decided, that's it, right? Vara here has come out. She came out with this post though, and it says here, I had a chance to briefly chat with the Shift Up CEO, and over the past few days there's been a lot of talk about Evie and her age. From our conversation, I could tell she is around 23 to 25-year-old age range. So yes, she is an adult. And then down here, she elaborates also, yes, I think most people can logically deduce this was the case. Now, I don't really disagree with this. I think that most people, maybe not all people, but most people claiming that she doesn't are really just pushing to try and stand on some sort of moral high ground to say that this game doesn't need to exist. However, I look at this post, and then afterwards, I see a whole bunch of different content creators going through and using this post as a, aha, see, the CEO himself stated that she's in the 23 to 25-year-old range. That's it. I don't know Vara, right? I don't have any problems with her, and this isn't me trying to attack her, but when I read this, I have a big problem. She just claims that she had this conversation with the CEO, and that's it. Where are the screenshots? Where is the evidence? Big claims require big evidence, or any form of evidence, at least, right? Anybody could just say something. I could make a post on the opposite side and said, hey, I had a conversation with the CEO and he said that she's 15, so at the end of the day, this is just hearsay. There's no evidence, there's no proof. Now, from what I've also heard, the CEO is pretty open to discussion. People could probably reach out and talk to him, and she could not be lying. This could be true. I'm not going to sit here and call her a liar, but I am going to say that anybody, especially these content creators out here making videos and using this statement as some sort of gotcha, I think that's foolish, because you're using something that has no source, no reference, It's literally just a random tweet by a user with a very obviously biased opinion, and then claiming that as your gotcha and your end all, and like, oh, well, haters should be quiet now or whatever. I just wanted to cover this real quick. I don't want to like call her a liar. She could be telling the truth, but I just wanted to bring it up that I think it's odd for anybody to use this random post that has absolutely no backing behind it whatsoever as the end all to say that, yeah, haha, the CEO himself claims her age, until the CEO makes a post himself on his own Twitter account. I think that nobody should be, claiming that there's any kind of verification. The other thing that I found incredibly interesting about this whole argument is that I've noticed that in the debate and controversy online and places like Twitter, that I've noticed that a lot of people that were hating on God of War and being disappointed and upset about the God of War, they've been a lot quieter. Like, oh, everybody kind of said their feeling and their vibe of the whole thing and moved on. I'm not saying by any means that that's 100% the case. Just from my perspective, at least, I've noticed a vast difference in the amount of people still talking about the God of War game and dissing on the God of War game versus the people who are supporters of the God of War game talking about Stellar Blade. And I'm seeing a lot of people talking about Stellar Blade to this day, shitting on it, trying to hate on it, trying to bring people down, and they're just still so upset about this game and how this game got a positive feedback. It's just like they're still really, really butthurt that the game they want to be popular, which technically still is popular. I mean, if we go over here to the trailer itself, it had 7.4 million views, 430k likes. It still is popular. Sure, it's incredibly mixed and it has a large amount of backlash, but it's still popular. But Stellar Blade overall it's only 1.4 million views over here. It's just not as big of a franchise. It's not as big of a game. It just received a larger, more positive feedback loop than God of War. And I think the people from God of War camp are just upset that this game, they want it to fail. They want it to fall off. They want people to be mad about it. And it's just not working. So they're still talking about it to this day. And it's all over the place. I every time I open Twitter, I see less and less of God of War posts and people hating on God of War, and I still just see ridiculous amounts of people trying to push this narrative about how bad Stellar Blade is. And if I was just seeing Stellar Blade is super bad, that would be one thing, but it's usually, more often than not, Stellar Blade is bad in comparison to God of War, and still people going off and off and off about how all these incels are afraid of women and stuff like that. I just find that super odd that the defenders of this game and attackers of Stellar Blade are so dead set on being correct, while the supporters of Stellar Blade and the haters of this game said their piece for the most part and have kind of moved on. I mean, you'll still see people arguing in the comment sections, but now you might be having a different experience than me, and that's fine. That's just what I've noticed. I'm not claiming to be correct and all-knowing. This is just, of course, what I've noticed. A lot of Stellar Blade fans, we engaged a little bit, but a lot of us are really just backing off. We're gonna buy the game. We're going to enjoy the game. We're going to do our thing, and we're moving on. We got something that was great. It was a great announcement. We're super happy about it, and we're going to just continue to enjoy it and move on and dismiss the haters. That's really all we can do, right? It's just not that important to us. But I also find it interesting that the CEO himself has really, really just completely dismissed the whole thing. He just isn't saying anything, not trying to do any damage control of any kind, sharing all kinds of different fan art and cosplays. He just really don't care, dude. I feel like there's a lot of people that were just hoping that he would come out with some kind of apology or try to damage control and push explanations and try to explain, well, hold on, and try and defend himself. And this goes back to the Vara situation where she says that, oh, well, during their conversation, she got a good idea of what her age range is, Evie's age range. But at the same time, if that was the case, I feel like wouldn't he just come out and like state it himself if he gave a shit? But I don't think he really gives a shit, to be honest. I think he's just like, yeah, you know, Stellar Blade, my game's coming out, isn't it great? Because there's no need for him to over explain himself. He knows what he's got. He likes it. He approves of it. His fans do. And you know, fucking hell yeah, based as fuck in my opinion. So that just brings me to why I think Stellar Blade very clearly wins this whole thing. Honestly, it comes down to this, right? This isn't a whole factor of, oh, I believe Stellar Blade is the superior game. Oh, I believe God of War is gonna flop, or it's as simple as numbers, right? This whole controversy comes down to something as simple as numbers. Stellar Blade has everything to gain from this controversy. God of War does not. The only thing that this controversy is doing to God of War is hurting it. Why is it hurting it? God of War it's already selling tens of millions per game. That level, especially when going up against something like Stellar Blade, it is a much, much, much smaller IP. So in this controversy, God of War only ends up doing one thing, and that's essentially pissing off people that were its fans, getting more people angry about it, and facing the backlash and possibly running into problems and selling less copies. And don't get it wrong, I 100% believe that this game will sell drastically less copies than the previous two titles. I think it's very obvious that if you just pay attention to even the like-dislike ratio, the backlash that the general God of War fans did give this game, there is a huge dissatisfaction with what people have seen. You can say it's because people are sexist. You can say it's because, people are afraid of women and afraid of real women. You can say it's because they're all just gooners. Or you can say that it's because they don't like the dialogue, because the dialogue feels too Disney, because it feels too childish, because the talking cube is stupid, any number of things that you want to say. And the fact is, partly all of it. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. The only thing that matters is that there was a huge backlash on this game comparatively to the other God of Wars, and that will most likely affect sales. Now, I could be wrong. It could hit something similar to Ragnarok as far as sales go. I would be beyond myself very surprised if this game sold more than Ragnarok. I personally think it'll at least sell at least 5 million less. Maybe this game will pack 10 million copies or something like that. But who knows? At the end of the day, you know, this is all speculation based off of the reception. I am just willing to put my money on this game will do less than previous titles. Compare that to Stellar Blade, though. Stellar Blade is a smaller IP overall, and it is growing. And the reason why I believe that it comes out on top is because even when this game was announced, just right before Stellar Blade Blood Rain was announced, there is still a large number of people that have never even heard of Stellar Blade, or maybe heard about it once and forgot about it and still don't know what Stellar Blade is. It's a much smaller IP, and a lot of people never really heard too much about it, or they might have heard about it, but it didn't grab their attention in the first game enough for them to spend $70 on it. You know, put $70 towards a new IP and see what was up. And sure, Eve was hot. Sure, the combat looked kind of cool. But other than that, people don't know enough about the game, and you're trying to convince these people to drop 70 bones on a new game. And it's a unknown developer. Pretty much all they do is like these mobile games. They're successful mobile games, sure, but in the Western gaming space, in the traditional console PC gamers, most of these people don't know about Nikki or Nike or whatever. Like, a lot of these people don't know about these mobile gotcha games. So when it's shift up, it's not this, to them, a known publisher that they're just going to try and buy their new game. You know, it's not like this is an Insomniac announcement. Though it's a growing franchise, and I 100% do believe that this game will outsell the first game. But when it comes to the controversy, the interesting thing about the controversy is that there is this huge fan base already built upon God of War. The millions and tens of millions of players that love God of War that might have never heard of Stellar Blade, but all of a sudden this controversy comes up. Maybe a bunch of God of War fans were upset about this game. They'd never heard of this Stellar Blade game, and now they're seeing the trailer for Stellar Blade. It's Stellar Blade is being compared to God of War to Stellar Blade, and now all of a sudden, all these people that might not have heard of Stellar Blade whatsoever, or maybe heard about it but didn't give it a chance, now have the opportunity to say, oh, well, you know what? That game does look interesting. Instead of spending my $70 on the God of War game that I would have spent my $70 on, I'll spend my $70 on the Stellar Blade game. So there you have it. That's why I believe Stellar Blade is the clear victor. Not because it's going to sell more copies than God of War, not because it's ultimately going to be a better game than God of War, or any of these things, which a lot of things are unseen yet, like sales numbers, or a basic opinions and subjective opinion on whether you think it's a better game, whether the Gooners win today, or whether the, woke activists win today. It don't matter. The reason Stellar Blade wins is simple. Stellar Blade wins because Stellar Blade has way more to gain from any kind of controversy. What's the old saying? Even bad publicity is still publicity. People trash dogging this game is still giving this game remarketing. There might have been a lot of people that watched the State of Play that didn't watch the Summer Game Fest. There might have been a bunch of people that didn't watch either the State of Play or the Summer Games Fest. I mean, people work, you know what I'm saying? People are busy with their lives, that they just hear about the games later on. Oh, a new God of War game was announced. They're going to hear that and they're going to go look up the trailer. When you hear, oh, a new Stellar Blade game dropped, they might not have any fucking idea what Stellar Blade is. That doesn't mean anything to them. Why are they going to go look it up? At the end of the day, it's simple. Stellar Blade is a lesser known title, and when it's a lesser known title like Stellar Blade is sitting in the conversation right next to a titan like God of War, it's going to get a lot more new eyes on it than it had before. So ultimately, Stellar Blade is only gaining from this. I wouldn't be surprised if Stellar Blade 2 sells 15 million copies plus. Best case scenario, if I had to guess, God of War Laufey will do just about as good as Ragnarok. Best case scenario. I foresee it doing better. I could be wrong. It could blow up. Who knows? Personally, I'm going to bet my money on it doing not nearly as well. I bet my money on maybe 8 to 10 million copies for God of War Laufey. This was not a case where the new God of War trailer dropped and everybody was absolutely massively hyped. The conversation was controversy. All they're doing is giving Stellar Blade more spotlight. That's it. I just noticed here on YouTube that the part where she takes off her jacket is the most replayed segment. Here, let me move. It's the most replayed segment is the part where she takes off her jacket. You can't deny that there is the Gooner culture here. We can't deny it. I don't think anybody really cares either. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. It was fun. This will probably be my last video about any of this for a little while. My last video about Stellar Blade for a while. Just wanted to kind of close up this series. Once we get more information, once more comes out about this, then we'll probably come back to it. But for now, I'm going to move on and start making some videos about some different shit. And if you want to come and hang out sometime while I'm gaming and shit, you can come and follow me over here on Twitch. I stream a couple times a week, sometimes at random times. I don't really make a schedule, but I play all kinds of games. We play Battlefield. I was doing a run through in Stellar Blade. I play gacha games. I play Minecraft. I play just about anything. If you're into any other kind of just video game news or discussions on different topics, give me a like and subscribe. I'm also looking into maybe talking about different anime, different reviews on anime, or maybe doing some movie reviews, shit like that. I'm not sure. I'm really just fucking around doing whatever I want. So either way, I appreciate y'all being here, and I'll catch y'all later, man. Peace.